Good evening, everybody, and it's Lilia and Jonathan here live from the Health Hub at the Quarriers Village. Jonathan, how are you?
I'm wonderful tonight. How are you? Just having an evening cup of coffee. Can you hear me okay?
Fantastic. We've had such a great day. I can hear you, yes. Is there a delay?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Okay. Yes, I'm saying we've had such a few really good weeks. So it's really fun to be on to talk about all the incredible stuff that's happening at the Hub. So can you hear me okay?
You just went quiet on me again for a second. Yep.
I wonder if it's the internet here, or let me move
Internet
a little
should
bit.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll move a little bit. How does that sound?
Of the Health Hub as we go there.
No.
Yep. Well, I see you and you're moving around, so that's good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. It's
Yeah, you've gone quiet on me again.
Seems to be you not hearing me.
Well, it comes and goes, Lilia.
I wonder why that is.
Tech.
That's so annoying.
Tech. So my finger up, finger down, finger up, finger down.
Right, let's have a go.
Okay.
So yes, so Jonathan and I have wanted to come on and talk about chronic fatigue, because so many people that are coming here, well, that's not their only symptom, but it's certainly one of the major symptoms that we're seeing for a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
And obviously, Jonathan, you've been here a lot longer than me. So give us your take from the biotherapy point of view. What do you see with chronic fatigue? What are the main issues?
Well, I would probably start with just it's such a common symptom for so many different reasons, and one of the very still current reasons is the COVID effect, the long COVID effect, and there are COVID groups, as everybody knows, around the country, and we've had some good experience, for example, in that department, helping people's breathing. So sometimes breathing is a major issue, and it's part of the energy cycle. Obviously, if the oxygen,
yes, I can hear you fine.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So obviously, as part of the energy cycle, if you can't get the oxygen where it needs to go for some reason, it's got a lot of links in the chain, starting with the membranes in the lung, short passage to the heart, and then out from the heart around the whole body. So there's lots of places where the links can be compromised in some ways, and sometimes we maybe think of things like spike protein in that connection, but we've had good results with people who've got breathing difficulties, which leads to part of the energy syndrome problem, and breathing has definitely helped a lot. It's not something that happens overnight, but of course, with the exercise with oxygen therapy, seems to have helped. Stimulating the cells with magnetic pulse therapy is also very good, and the third string to the bow, of course, is infrared light and near infrared light. All of these play an active part on the cells. So very, very common. People get lethargic, and sometimes it can just be if you sit around a long time, you get hypoxic, being low in oxygen, and that's another reason why people just don't have any energy. And there's other reasons, nutritional reasons. Lack of vitamin D doesn't help your energy. Lack of sunshine in general doesn't help your energy. And some of our experiences we've had, there are some illnesses which have labels like ME and such like, which we don't ever quite know. No one can put their finger on exactly where these these things stem from, fibromyalgia being another example. And yeah, so but in a way, the way that we handle that has a lot of similarities, because the one thing that we all have in common are we all have cells that all work exactly the same way. So that's where I'd start. So yeah. So what else were you thinking of, Lilia, on that subject?
Well, I mean, obviously, you and I, we always talk about things from a cellular level and how we can charge the cell. And for me, I'm always sort of looking at the emotional side as well, because what can happen when you've been tired for a long time is that you get fed up. And it's no wonder. So the thinking kind of comes down into more problematic thinking. And I suppose to some degree it's about giving up. You can't imagine being well when you've been unwell for a few months and perhaps even years, which is what certainly the clients are seeing. So I think it's important, to not to think about the emotional side. Also, the microbiome in the gut, and then obviously how the biotherapies really charge the body up. And the way I see that is that once the body has enough energy, it will do what it needs to do. And it just seems to me a much less complicated way to look at it.
Yep. Well, absolutely.
It's a bit like, what does my car need to drive to London? It needs oil and it needs petrol, and it needs air in the tires. And we're the same. We need the light, we need the oxygen, and we need the electromagnetic.
Yep. As you picked up on the car,
and that really simple.
As you picked up on the car analogy, with my engineering background in the past life of mine, I think it's a very useful, rather embarrassingly appropriate analogy, and because motor cars need clean fuel, and as well they need clean oxygen. They need good oxygen, and they also need some voltage, in the spark plugs. So there's a lot of comparisons there. But there's another one as well, which I think is interesting, because cellular biology is pretty complicated. It's layers and layers deep of understanding and research, and I don't think we really need to go there to know what to do about it. And going back to the car analogy, you don't need to know how a car engine works. You don't need to know what's under the bonnet. What you need to know is, if you want to stop something, you press the brake pedal. And if you want to go forwards, you press the accelerator. More or less, that's how it is. So two very simple things which control the energy, control the power, and with a steering wheel, you can control the direction. And we were talking not long ago about, a key question for anyone to ask about their own health is, what do you want out of your health? Where are you going? Because if you don't know where you're going, any bus will get you there. You can eat, drink, and be merry, and just deal with it. So, yeah.
Yes. Catherine, hi, how you doing? Can you tell me, how does this sound? Because there's definitely a delay, and it's almost like there's just a little part of the. Can you get the conversation here? Can you understand what we're saying? Anybody who's watching, if you could comment in the box and just know that you can understand what we're saying, because there's definitely a little bit of a drag.
I'm picking that up.
And I'm just
every now and then you go silent on me.
I want to make sure that people can understand what we're saying. Yeah. There's definitely a delay, Catherine saying.
Restart the whole program, and would that be difficult for people?
No, it wouldn't be embarrassing at all. If you want to, do you want to go out and come back in and see?
Well,
I don't know if it'll make any difference, but we can try it.
Yeah, but what about our viewers? Is that something?
It's okay. You cut at times at your side, but for a second or so. Okay. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, Tom's saying it's okay. There's a tiny little bit of delay. Let's try. Let's see how that goes.
Okay, very good. Right, thanks for the feedback, Tom. Yep. That's my
We're
son, Tom.
We're going to keep going, guys. Hopefully we can.
Yep.
Hopefully you can get. Yes, Tom's there saying there's just a second or so. I don't know why that's happening. Tom, if you've got any bright ideas, please let us know. Yeah, so we're talking about the car analogy, which I think is, you know, what's happened with health is it's become so complicated. People are overwhelmed with all the information. What supplement should you take? What herb? What parasite cleanse? What detox? What's safe? What's not safe? And, you know, what diet works and all of that. So that's what I love about the biotherapies. It's just, let's just give the body more energy, innate intelligence that made us. I say that to people. Did you have anything to do with making the body? No. You didn't say, could you make an arm, please? Could you make a beautiful face? Could you give me nice and long blonde hair? No. All of that just happens. How does it happen? Who even knows? There is an innate intelligence somewhere that makes this and this makes us. And so, and for me, healing is exactly the same. We do not do the healing, but we can create an environment that's conducive to flow.
Yep. Yes, the body.
And for the information and the patterns and the shapes, the sacred geometry, to go back into the flow, and then the healing happens. And more research is pointing towards all the intelligence in the invisible. And when we can change the invisible, then the visible will respond, which I find absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Well,
so let's talk about the PEM for chronic fatigue.
Yep. Sure. Well, PEMF is pulsed electromagnetic field therapy invented by NASA in 1970. It helped their astronauts with loss of bone density being in low gravity environments, or no gravity environments, I should say. And subsequent to that, they discovered that powerful magnetic pulses stimulate bone growth. And they discovered that people who had fractures that wouldn't heal, fractured bones, they suddenly started to heal once they got some a bit of this wonderful magnetic energy. So that was the first thing. And then it went on to discover that it was actually a magnetic pulse which moves. It's quite different from having, say, a bracelet with a single magnet on it, which is not creating a moving field. I'm not sure what those bracelets do. Some people say they get benefit from them. I don't know about that, but what I do know is that if you move something conductive, if you put it in the way of a moving magnetic field, it's going to make a little voltage, a little current. So we've got lots of things in the body which are conductive, starting with good old-fashioned nerves and moving on to the much more intricate and very interesting fascia, which Lilia has a lot of knowledge on, which spreads right throughout the whole body, starting at the foot and going. It's like a lattice work, and it's an information highway. It's a structural highway. It's got lots of different aspects to it. Some parts of the fascia are very strong, some are more jelly-like, and it just depends where they are. But almost every part of the body is connected to the fascia in some way. So the fascia being able to conduct electricity, it's getting help from the pulse magnetic therapy, and it's recharging. Every cell has a membrane, and it's a bit like, I always think of like an egg with a shell around it. The membrane's complicated. It's made of fats, hopefully nice fats, and natural fats, and so on. And it's a battery, and the batteries can run down. And when cell batteries run down, they don't work so well. And when you have enough cells not working properly, you then start to experience symptoms. So all cells except for red blood cells have mitochondria in them, and the mitochondria control the energy output from the cell. And without electrical voltage, which gets involved in something called the Krebs cycle, which is the cycle that makes the energy and makes ATP, that's the fuel of the body. So without enough electrical energy, the cell can't work. And as cells get less effective, their voltage goes down. quite considerably. So there's a job to be done there, and all the pulse magnetic therapy can stimulate your nerves to the point where, if people, for example, have had maybe sometimes we've had people with a stroke, and they've managed to move their fingers a bit more after some pen fingers, just because the nerves have been so stimulated by the magnetism. So that's sort of where PEMF comes in. A lot of people just feel very very energized from PEMF, and if only a little, maybe a little tired in an afternoon of a PEMF session in the morning. There's a bit of detoxing going on, which you might want to talk about, Lilia. But anyway, that's what I would put on the table about PEMF.
Yeah, we were talking about portable PEMF machines that can just give you a wee kickstart in the afternoon if you get tired. I'm very impressed with your up to date knowledge of the fascia. You see, it is pretty fascinating, isn't it, when you start looking at it?
I've had a rather good
Tom, you'll get into it.
I've had a rather good teacher, Lilia, so I've got to give all credit to actually yours truly. So no, not me, you truly.
What the thing for me when I learned about the fascia was it just made so many things make sense. And then obviously, as you know, when I was like, right, the PEMF, because it makes the muscle twitch, isn't it? You can feel it when you're on the PEMF machine.
Yep.
And then I knew about the crystals and the crystalline plasma in the fascia and the piezoelectric nature of crystals, obviously. And then when I was thinking that charge is going through, so that's going to be charging that whole information highway, which is going to be amazing for letting go. And suddenly it made sense to me why so many people, almost instant, one session, they feel, a relaxation in their system or their pain.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite work out what that was, but then the fascia, now I'm like, that makes
it's
total sense. And it also makes total sense why tapping works. And it also makes total sense why Qigong and Tai Chi, because as somebody that came from a cardiovascular, aerobic, lift weights, everything had to be hard work, fitness background, I could never understand Tai Chi. I'm like, what's this doing? Because I just thought of everything, we thought about everything around muscles and bone density and cardiovascular fitness. Now we're looking at something completely different, which requires us to be quiet. It requires us to be mindful. And it requires a level of inner focus and attention, which I think generally in the West we've been really pretty bad at. So for me, the understanding the fascia just put a light on for so many things that I now understand why they work, and the mind likes to understand that. And so when it comes to, let's talk a little bit about the detox, because the reality is we don't know who it's going to help and who it's not going to help, in terms of some people get phenomenal results really quickly, and then others may go into almost like a healing crisis. So they may be a lot more tired, and that can, be to do with the gut, but not always, so I think there's some mysteries there that we still have to make sense of, hopefully, as we start to measure things and understand the more people that we're working with. But what can happen in any detox or any die-off, especially if you've got candida and there's a fungus die-off, or if you go on a ketogenic diet and you're cutting out the carbs, is that there can be a time of exhaustion, cravings, headaches, nausea, the keto flu, they call it. So it's really, really important, I think, for people to understand, we call it the Hertz reaction, the detox pathways, and how that can back up and make you feel worse before you feel better, and how we can manage that. Because the reality is, as somebody who's been fasting for 30, 40 years, I know that I can go into a fast, maybe not coming out the cleanest time of my life, and feel fine. And I can go into a fast believing that I've been quite clean, and then I don't feel fine. I'm not sure we ever really fully understand why the body's doing what it's doing. But I think anybody who's coming to try superhuman, which is your pulsed electromagnetic, your oxygen and red light, which is what I recommend for all my clients because it's such a phenomenal protocol that's going to speed up healing, and that's ultimately what we're doing. We're helping people to heal faster. But there can be, the day after you might be exhausted, the day, and especially if the fatigue is really severe. So we just have to go really mindfully. And it's a bit like I always say, it's like going to the gym, that if you do a real workout, if you climb a hill, the next day you're knackered and all your bones that you've not used for ages can be sore. But we accept that. We don't think, there's something wrong. We accept that we've done something. We put the body under stress and we're having a response to the stress. So I think it's really important to point that out, because what happens is if people don't feel well, they believe they're not well. So if you're going through a detox reaction, I tried that and I felt terrible. Yes, because you didn't really fully understand the process. So we're very keen to make sure that people, I keep saying this, I want, you can clean up your diet, you can get the candida under control, you can feel much lighter and brighter with a parasite cleanse. I've done all that. I know that for a fact. But the reality is, then you take your foot off the pedal, and before you know it, 2 years down the line, you're back maybe feeling the way you felt. You think, why did I not stay on the protocols? But at least once you understand, right, this is why I'm tired again. You know perfectly well, most of us, if you're aware, you know what to do. And, it's like the guy I met at the on a retreat, he was on the 12-step program, and he said, I know when I'm not feeling good, it's because I'm not following the 12 steps. And I thought, that's the same for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We know what to do to keep ourselves well, to keep our energy levels up. And we also know when we're not doing that. So it's about that awareness and that education, so that any other time that you would be feeling that level of fatigue coming on again, that you're well educated, you understand the body, and you know what to do in order.
Yeah. So I would say I just wanted to pick up a little bit. You used the phrase piezoelectric and crystals and things, and people may not be very familiar with that term. But what it means is if you bash a crystal, give it a knock, it makes a voltage. And this is used in all sorts of things like echo sounders in boats and so on. But it works the other way as well. If you hit a crystal with a voltage, it moves physically, a tiny amount, but it moves. So I want to bring this back to the cellular level, because the PEMF, which we can, are we okay for time, Lilia?
Yes, but it's just somebody's in the gym, they've opened the door, I can hear the music.
Oh, okay. I can't hear it anyway. The PEMF in America, in the clinics where they use the PEMF machines with the big ones like we have, the PMT 120s, the pulse is very powerful, and at a cellular level, it has a microscopic physical impact on the membrane of the cell. And the membrane of the cell is sometimes closed and sometimes open, and it's controlled by the chemistry on either side of it and also the electrical voltage across it. So complicated, but the point is that the membrane, the holes or little tunnels through the membrane get blocked with toxic materials. It could be heavy metals, it could be BPA from plastics, it could be anything really. And when you give these membranes, they're microscopic, but when you give them this little jolt with the electricity, with the pulse magnetic therapy, when you do that, it shakes some of these toxins out, and they then go into your intercellular fluid, which is the fluid between all the cells, and as I once mentioned before, the internal sea that we have. So once those toxins are there, and this is about detoxing and getting the energy levels up in the cell, which is the original context of where we started from. We seem to go on. There's so many ways to go, aren't there? And this allows the things to move more freely. And also, as Lilia said, there's sometimes a bit of a slough off of these toxins, and that's why we always recommend people drink freely after they've had any of our therapies, because they all detox in some way.
Yes, exactly. And I think if we look at, we have got a chronic fatigue epidemic. We also have over a third of our population unable to work because they're feeling so unwell. And that's why I'm so excited about what we're seeing at the hub. And we were talking about it earlier. Let's just come and try. Why would you not come and try? And my friend Alex Mitchell, who lost his leg, he it was so fantastic to see the result that he had. The cramp in his leg, his calf eased, the pain in his shoulder eased, and you're just like, it might not be a big eureka, I'm healed. It's just like the symptoms ease and life, it just becomes a little bit easier. And, the reasons for the fatigue, very often what I'm seeing, obviously, with all the clients that have been coming in, thanks to Helen Matthews and her TikTok account, is that there's a lot of gut fungus and parasites and Lyme showing up. But, all of these things really are symptomatic of the same issue, which is dysbiosis in the gut. And when the gut's not happy and it's at the wrong temperature, it's just too warm or too cold, then, it's just not the perfect ecosystem for great no symptom health.
Yeah. Can I just pitch in, because my what I've gathered about the gut is that we have literally trillions of microbes in the gut, and the gut is a big chemical factory. So depending what you put in your mouth depends on what chemistry is going in your gut. So there are many examples of people who have neural conditions or psychological conditions who change their diet and their whole life has changed around. So it's the body is the gut and the gut is the body, and there's a gut connection with everything. Everything is connected. So, what we put in our mouth is what feeds the microbes, and the microbes actually make some of the products that get absorbed by the intestines and end up in the bloodstream. And if you've got toxins being generated, and an example of that might be Candida, then it gets into the bloodstream, it spreads around the body, and these fungal infections can really crop up anywhere. So what Lilia is saying about the gut is terribly important. And one of the things that we are likely to ask someone who's got symptoms that haven't been diagnosed or found out what's going on is just, well, what is your favorite food and what did you have for breakfast? So just be aware that, people say, well, I've never met anyone, for example, who says, oh, I eat a very unhealthy diet. Everyone eats a healthy diet. And then you find out, well, it's this and it's that. So sometimes it's not quite that simple, but it is simple. If you eat rubbish, you're going to have a problem. And that's basically it in a nutshell. Sorry if I'm a bit forthright about this, but that's basically the essence.
No, it's absolutely true. And the reason that I stopped kind of being a nutritional healer per se is because it's, the knowledge is one thing. There's brilliant websites all over the internet.
Yep.
But, I would tell people what not to eat and they would eat it. And I would tell them what to eat and they wouldn't eat it. And I thought, well, what really is the point? And that's kind of what took me into the mind. It's like, why would you destroy your own body with shit food? It makes no sense, but that's where the addictions and the comfort and of course the microbiome demanding, transferring, like, feed me, pizza, beer, I love that, give me that. Yeah. And then that anxiety, that people believe is or don't understand, it can be getting transferred from the gut. And that's why, obviously, even from an emotional release perspective, I cannot talk about letting go of the past and letting go of anxiety without looking at your digestive system, because it can start and finish there. Your essential fat profile. Is the cell membrane buoyant and hydrated? Have you got a good fat profile? So, as you say, it's like trying to separate the lymphatic system, the vagus nerve, and the fascia. You can't. It's all working in this beautiful synergy. And, what can happen is you can work on the vagus nerve and feel better. You can work on letting go and feel better. You can work on your diet and feel better. But, I was listening to Sarah Myhill and she was saying, it used to be that maybe doing one of these things would help. But people are in such a state now that they need to throw everything at it. We need to be looking at the emotions. We need to be looking at the nervous system. We need to be looking at the diet. And then, of course, we have got the luxury of these phenomenal biotherapies. And, you know, the breath work and Candida, I'm studying right now with Brooke McPoyle and how, you know, the kind of middle lumbar, there's like a pump in there that starts to actually pump the lymphatic system, so we can use the breath to help, you know, the stagnation in the lymphatic system with the breath, and it's great for Candida as well because it moves everything through. And then obviously we have the oxygen, which is also great for Candida. So when people come to us and they're getting a kind of full understanding of the diet, the emotional releasing, you know, the fascia, because I've got my wee toys to demonstrate it, and then obviously the biotherapies on top of that, and then of course flooding the body with light, getting the hormones more balanced. It's just a phenomenal holistic place that we have here to serve the body on all these levels. And we're seeing results. And as I say, you don't want to over-egg and promise everybody the world. But, you know, as I said to my brother at Christmas, you know, after I'd seen this place, I was like, this is the first time since this happened to you that I've had hope, you know, because I know a lot of people are feeling hopeless. And, you know, I get messages, you know, that's so nice about, and I've not really done anything apart from a bit of guidance, you know, and then you get them in the biotherapy, come back to life. It's what a rewarding thing to do. It really is incredible. I'm just absolutely pinching myself.
Yes, well, it's a very different world than the world of engineering that I used to be in for 40 years. And I really enjoy the people side of meeting people. But picking up on your point, very interesting point, why do people continue to do things that well, I know that eating this or that or drinking that's not good for me. Why do they keep doing it? Well, first of all, there's the addiction factor, which is very real, and you know, sugar is known for sugars incredibly addictive, and carbohydrates turn to sugars, sadly, for people like me. And I'm always on the edge of being pre-diabetic, so I've got to watch what I take. I have to watch the cakes, I have to watch the biscuits and rice and spuds and things. So and bread, of course. So yes, but I think what happens is that we get away with murder when we're in our youth and in our teenage years, our 20s, and suddenly at 35, you know, symptoms start to appear, and people say, "Oh, I've just got this. What's happened?" Well, your body's been dealing with this toxic regime for decades, and finally the body, as you get older, your immune system's not quite so good, your digestion's not quite so good, and all of a sudden the symptoms start to appear, and they've been growing in us for maybe 20 or 30 years. And you know, so actually it's quite understandable when people say, well, why has this happened, why has it happened to me? And I've been eating the same all this time. It's never been a problem to have my cornflakes loaded with iron and orange juice loaded with sugar and things. And why is it happening to me? And it's happening now. So we're having to, in a way, start and reverse a process that may be decades long. So anyway, I've had my little rant about that.
Yes, I know. And, you know, we don't get sick in a week. That, you know, is you can see, and that's what I say to people about the Quest 9 and the Genius Insight. You know, don't come and get the test unless you're willing to make changes. No. Because I know what's going on and what's in the post if action is not taken, you know. No. So I find that really kind of, you know, concerning. I love helping people if they're willing to make the changes, because, you know, regardless of how brilliant this place that you've created here is, it's you know, it's what goes on at home as well is playing a huge part in the maintenance of the garden. I talk about, you can get the gardener in to, you know, cut the grass and cut the hedges and weed everything and get it into a nice shape, and then it's up to you to kind of maintain it. And you know, it's like people used to come into our gym when we had the gym in St. Vincent Street and say, because we specialise in vibration training, how long do we need to do it for? Because we could do a 12-minute workout, a phenomenally powerful workout. I mean, we work people hard, but they're like, how long do you need to do it for? And I'm sort of like, well, how long do you need to brush your teeth for? You know, it's an organism that needs continuous. We're living in a gravitational field, apparently. And gravity starts to pull everything down if we don't do something that's going to maintain, you know, and so many people aren't moving now either, which is is a challenge.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge for the lymph. And, you know, that's one of the things. I've not done my live on the results from my 4 weeks of Superhuman yet, because I left all my kitten at my daughter's house and I wanted to show people. I will show people exactly on the machines. But one of the things that when I'm in the far infrared sauna is I just do the big 6, which is all the, you know, the bottleneck points in the body. And I can really actually see that, you know, Mindy Peltz always says you're meant to have armpits, not arm puffs. And I'm saying I actually can see more definition there now, because I've been, you know, when I'm in the sauna, I just do it. And so you're moving, making sure that that's stagnant. It's the water in, water out. You know, we can't allow the body to get stagnant, because if it does, then there's no flow. And when there's no flow, there is health issues.
Terribly important, everything you're saying. And of course, our intercellular fluid, it doesn't have a pump. It's more a sort of movement of, I guess, osmotic pressures and things, which come back to get the blood back into the venous system and back up to the heart. So, yeah, okay.
Yes, absolutely. I was interested to only discover this week about this little lymphatic pump. I can't remember the fancy dancy name for it. That's kind of right in underneath the solar plexus. So when you use the breath, you can actually use the breath and certain holds to help, you know, basically rinse the organs out, make sure they're staying well. And I think, you know, certainly I used to always think it's about diet and exercise. And now we're realizing breathing and meditating and awareness playing a huge part in keeping the body well. And we're just not, well, I certainly never had any understanding about that. How you can even, with your awareness, increase the ATP in the body. I mean, it's mind-blowing what the body's capable of once we start to understand it. And that's what's so exciting about what's going on now. We're just learning the incredible intelligence that the body is, and that we really need to stop terrifying people of it, because it's way, way, way. And, you know, it's like you were saying there about it takes a longer, you know, we don't get sick overnight. It's probably years and years. I know I certainly partied this baby hard and fast. So, you know, but it's actually all incredible how quickly the body will respond when you start to do things right. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you're talking at a cellular level, of course, things sometimes, you know, some cells replace like your tongue cells replace, I think, every 12 days, and your gut cells at least as quickly as that. And then other cells take months. And so if you've got nerve damage, for example, it's going to take a while to get that to work again. I want to pick up on your breathing, because I've had good fortune to go to one of Lilia's breathing classes, and I was quite intrigued about how different it made me feel. But talking about the diaphragm and how that's this pump for the lymph. So from what I've seen, the lymph comes up and it comes down, and it comes down on the side, and it meets from the side, and it all drains here, and it comes down from here and down from here, down from here, and it all drains down, basically down to this point. So if you are using your diaphragm, which is great, diaphragm, if you push it down, you breathe in, tenses up the whole of your bottom half of your body, and you can bring it up to the top by breathing out. So it's a very, very powerful bit of kit, and Lilia knows better than me how to probably explain all that. But breathing is one of the few things that you can really change in the shape and the movement of an organ.
Well, you can increase the kind of cubic capacity of the lungs, and you can become very, very good at working. I mean, I think in our culture, we're just not taught to breathe.
No.
Nobody. I didn't really understand breath work until I was 60. I mean, that's embarrassing. The power within to change how you feel, to help clear the lymphatic system, to generate higher states of awareness and consciousness and connection. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on and on for weight regulation. It's so powerful. And that's, you know, what we want to be teaching that obviously in the academy when it gets rocking and rolling. So it's because we want to get this information out to people so that they know how to work their own incredible bodies. So I think if anybody out there is suffering from extreme fatigue, breath work, simple things that you can do, water, obviously water in, water out, do some kind of movement, even if it's Tai Chi, Qigong, clean the diet up, get the processed grains and the processed sugars out, and just think about doing it for a few weeks, a day at a time. A day at a time. I think that's the most powerful saying. Just for today, can I just make sure it's not always about what you put in, it's about what you don't put in. So when you take things out, then the body, the microbiome, we can change the microbiome in days. We know that, but it's the maintaining of it that is the secret. And you know, we don't just get our energy from our food; we get our energy from the elements. We get our energy from light, oxygen, and the pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. We're feeding the body in different ways. We can get energy from sound. We've got this incredible acoustic speaker. We even have this system, like a scuba system. So aromatherapy and you know, what we're believing, what we're hearing, what we're perceiving about the world, all of that is going to change our chemistry and our biofield. So it's all important, and that's what I'm loving about here, is that we're able to guide people. Because if you're really exhausted, then, you know, the idea of having to do more things is just going to depress you. So it's really these gentle things that you can do. There's a brilliant guy, Breathe with Sandy, on YouTube, free, fantastic videos. Just go on and follow. He's got anything from 5 minutes to 20 minutes, brilliantly explained, and you can just follow along with that. So just some gentle breathing to start with, even if it's just coherent breathing. Make sure the water in, water out. The big six, phenomenal. And you know, my friend Nicola, that she's the person that got me into the fascia. She's incredible with her understanding and knowledge of the lymph and the glymph and how the brain gets power hosed. And the reality is, if our posture's wrong, we're sitting at a desk all day, we're eating the wrong foods, artificial lighting, Wi-Fi, stress, you know, it's the list goes on. It's actually a miracle that we're all still alive, isn't it, really? It's pretty exciting.
Well, if I could just go sort of off-piste a little bit, I just wanted to put a word into anyone who's listening to this and thinking, well, I'd really like to do something. Where do I start? I was going to suggest a few tips. First of all, if you don't know what's going on at all, if you can't measure what's happening, then you can't take any effects. So you can't do anything about it. You have to be able to measure something to manage it. And so what do we want to measure? Well, one of the simplest things to do at home is measure your own glucose levels in your own blood. Something like 60% of the population are either pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, and we'll leave the type 1s out because they're a different case, but a chunk of people are just unaware they're on the slippery slope, and they haven't even been diagnosed. Some people are rank type 2 diabetics, don't know it, their GP doesn't know it, they haven't visited the doctor for years. If you want to get sorted, try and get a blood test and try and get a copy from your GP's nurse. Ask for it, it's your data, you should be able to get it. And the other thing, I was just looking around, sorry for turning my back on everyone. I was just looking around for the little finger thing that you put on. They have them in hospitals, and you can measure your oxygen levels. Do you know what your oxygen levels are? Sometimes we have a lot of people coming in, their oxygen levels are below where they should be. And it also gives you a measure of your heart rate. So these are very useful things. You know, if your heart rate's high and you're only sitting down doing nothing, then you want to know about that and improve it. So for example, part of my bit of kit here is this little device. I don't know if you can see it. It's got a lancer on the side. You just click that and it arms the pricker. And then this rolls back and you just put a little drop of blood on that end and it'll give you a reading. And there's 50 readings in this. So it'll last quite a long time. And that's one thing. I'm interested in getting into fat burning mode and a healthy mode, which is ketones and ketosis. So there's another little meter like that I don't know if that's back to front to you all, but it's EB ketone. These are a bit more expensive. These sticks are a bit more expensive, but it's very helpful to know if you're in ketosis, because that's the most healthy way to be if you are fasting, or if you're on, say, a low sugar diet or something like that. So I would like to suggest that you get yourself something that'll measure your blood, especially if you know that you've got a problem. And secondly, why not get a blood pressure reading, a cuff reader, which is something they're all over the internet now. You can get a nice one from Omron for, I don't know, 50, 60 pounds. You can find out what's happening to your blood pressure. If you don't know that it's high, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. So get your blood test get your printout of your thing, because that's a very useful start. And I find sometimes that there's a drift on the readings, which isn't out of range, as your GP will say. There's nothing flagged as a problem. It's all in range. You can go home now. But actually, sometimes you have symptoms, and there's a little clue when something is either very much on the low end or on the high end of your analysis. So sorry if I'm going off piece there, Lily, but it's something I really...
No, it's fine. Yeah, my friend Donal, who made the 4 documentaries on Don't Fear Fat, The Big Fat Sugar Fix, and Serial Killers, he said that probably the greatest indicator and the cheapest way to maintain your health is to look at unstable blood sugar levels. And if you've got chronic fatigue, then there's likely going to be a carbohydrate element to that. You're probably a carb head, because carbs can be every bit as addictive as sugar. So that can become an issue. So it's and again, if you're extreme fatigue, you don't want to cut them all out. Just go slowly, listen to the body, see how it feels. The Keto Mojo, if you decide to go keto, if you want to lose weight and gain some energy, the Keto Mojo is really handy. The strips are expensive. I don't know why they're that expensive. They're crazy. But the thing is, once you understand that you're in ketosis, and you'll know without the strips. So you only need to use them for the first little while, and then you can tell by how you feel.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, that's okay. I'm burning fat, and for most people in the West, burning fat means burning toxins. Yeah. And autophagy means that the body will quite naturally on its own pick up on the crap first, as it's cleaning up and burning yeah. the old fuel.
Well, one of the things that I think is so interesting about fasting is that the body does not need, you can live off 0 carbohydrates, because the liver can make any glucose the muscles need from fat. And if there's not enough fat, then the body goes and searches for protein. So we don't want to perhaps fast far too long, but maybe start out with intermittent fasting. You could go for a day fast and then stretch that gradually through time. And actually, when you're in ketosis, it's a wonderful feeling. Your thinking gets very clear, bags of energy, and you just feel like you could go on forever, which you can while you're burning this fuel tank here. So there's a lot to go at. So it's a pretty marvelous state. And Lilia touched on autophagy. If you don't eat protein, which you don't on a fast, of course, then the body needs protein. It can't live without protein, and it can't live without fat. So the body goes in search of protein. And as Lilia is saying, the autophagy is when the body picks up on cells that are senescent or not functioning properly and says, well, these look past their sell by date. Let's use these. And they take them back and they repurpose them, and they make fresh proteins to keep muscles going. And that's why older people need to eat plenty of protein, because you will lose muscle weight and strength as you get older. We don't digest protein so well. So we need a bit more of it, not less, and keep up the protein. But that's the thing about autophagy. It's a marvelous thing. And when you get rid of all these dead cells, the body makes fresh ones. And that includes all the mitochondria, lovely new mitochondria, to make fresh energy.
Yeah, and the thing I love about fasting is it's free, and it means that anybody and everybody can do it. And certainly starting with intermittent fasting, the golden rule there is, and no food an hour after you get up, and no food 3 hours before you go to bed, so that the digestion process is complete, and that when you do go to sleep, the circadian rhythm kicks in and the body starts to work its way through the organs, cleansing, healing, restoring and repairing. And that cannot happen if it's still trying to digest the food that you've just put in before you went to bed. Yep. So these are simple things. Get your bare feet on the ground, get your energy up, do some breathing in some nice trees, get out in the sunlight.
Yeah.
Apparently it's coming, summer's coming, I've heard. So yeah, well, I think that's a pretty good overview. And also, obviously, at the Health Hub, we do free discovery calls. We do free discovery visits if you want to come and have a look round the place. We also have Health at Home, which is our obviously our website for protocols, vitamins, and all the biotherapies that can go into your home, into your community, into your business. So I'm very excited about that as well, because I understand that demographically not everybody can get here. And as they say in our business course, if where there's a will, there's a way. Crowdfund, make it happen, get this phenomenal equipment into a place near you soon, because honestly, there's so many people that it can help. These simple things that we've spoken about can all help you. Unfortunately, nobody's coming on a horse to save us. This changing this health trajectory around is going to be a job for us, the people supporting and helping each other. And up at the hub here, we're creating communities of people that are really focused on defying the odds. And there's always hope. It's never over until the fat lady sings. I only ever research people who defy the odds and what have they done. And there's literally thousands of different ways to do it. And that's what's confusing. But we can help you cut through all of the overwhelm and help you tune into your intuition and find out what's going to be right for you. It's very, very exciting times for healing in Scotland. We're very, very blessed to have this phenomenal place. So please spread the word. Come and visit us. Check out Health at Home. If you want to bring it into your home, your business, your community, a community centre, get in touch. Personally, from the Heal Scotland perspective, happy to help you look at how we can make it happen. We just need the heart's desire. That's all. And then the rest will all unfold beautifully.
If I could just pitch into the Health at Home is a newish website. We've got a wonderful range of lovely infrared kit. We've got panels which are just gorgeous, beautifully made. We've got lights, red light panels, all the right frequencies that are tuned to your cellular function. And so red light is started. We're going to bring portable pulse magnetic therapy into the equation, and we're going to also bring some oxygen equipment. So you can do all of that at home if you have the funding. As Lilia said, you could join to club together with some friends and buy something. But these are helpful solutions, health solutions, which you can be done at home. You don't need to have a doctor to tell you once you've had a little instruction how to use these simple equipments. And actually, it's something you should think of as something that's in your medicine chest. If you invest in a pulse magnetic field therapy, you'll be able to help your neighbors and friends who've got frozen shoulders and stiff joints and aches and pains and such like, and so on. And we're going to continue this range. We'll have the little blood finger monitors, and we'll have some of this stuff available. So it's a one-stop shop for things that you can do at home to help yourself.
Yes, and as you say, it's a work in progress. We want to have really great packages from, the kind of affordable one that you can have in your home for yourself, right up to something that you can have in your business or in your community, because we really are passionate about getting this technology out to the people that need it, because we know how difficult it is when you or somebody in your family doesn't feel well and how it affects everyone. Hi Laura, how are you doing? Yes, you're right. I should have cisterna, that's it, for that little lymph node. Anyway, I think that's us wrapping up for the night. If anybody is watching on replay and they've got any questions, ping them in a message and we will get to you. Come and see us, come and hang out, come to the fete. It's on the 14th of June, Sunday. Come to the festival at the end of August, and subscribe to the Heal Scotland calendar and click Heal Together and keep up with all the events that we are going to be packing in over the next year or so. So yeah, it's exciting times, and thank you, Jonathan. And we will be back in 2 weeks. I think we're going to be doing this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, come and see us. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Night, folks. Ciao, ciao.